One world currency.
The New World Order.
Those are the roots of trouble.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of election, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live after fist-fighting technical difficulties here for almost, 20 minutes now? We are live. No big deal, whatever. We got plenty of time here. Thanks to the fact that we have no commercials and the breaks are really short. We end up getting extra time anyway, so it'll still be about equally as long as one of my older broadcasts. So no biggie. Anyway, it is Friday, September 27th, 2013. I hate Skype, Johnny, don't you? In case you all aren't sure, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, it's I was going to surprise you all when after the intro, but I'm excited to be bringing my buddy Johnny English back on to the broadcast after a bit of a hiatus, and we're going to be picking up with Cutting Through the BS, episode number 14. But like I said, we had to fist fight these Skype gremlins. It is what it is. Anyway, so we're back live. We're good to go. I hate Skype, don't you, Johnny? I just can't stand it. I know you actually had issues on your broadcast tonight, right? Because I came on to hang out with you for a little while tonight, and you were trying to bring me on, and Skype was fighting you then, too.
Well, that's just because I updated my Skype, and I shouldn't have. But, hey, I would say everybody was surprised. You wanted to surprise everyone. Surprise! Surprise! Dead air. Surprise! Sir. Shocked. Look at them. They all have shocked looks on their faces.
Oh, the poor listeners. So, for the listeners that don't know who Johnny is, Johnny's a good friend of mine. I met him while doing I was invited to be a guest on a radio show back in the day.
In a gay bar? No.
Yeah. Smart ass. And he was one of the co-hosts of the radio show. And we became friends. And Johnny decided that he was going to take on a different path in his radio career, and he decided to go from Mr. Shock Jock into somewhat of a truth-telling shock jock. No, he's not a shock jock anymore. But
I don't know. I'm kind of shocked at. Well, I won't go get into that, but I see the transition that I made from the shock jock over to quote unquote truther radio, and then I went past that as well. So I you know what I mean. I don't want to be labeled with anything anymore, because being part of, as your favorite word, movement, is as I saw this quote unquote movement just going right down the toilet, as I saw certain people doing certain things, saying things, and it's just it's ridiculous. And so now I'm just doing my own thing, man. Broken Man Radio, I'm doing it, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what they think. I'm just going to say what I want to say, and if they don't like it, they don't have to listen.
Well, that's the freedom of speech, brother. That's definitely what the First Amendment is about. And honestly, that's part of your path, right? And I agree. I hate the word movement. First of all, the problem with that whole thing is it's the thinking of that, right? The way people think when they get into that group think is that they still look to an outside source. They still look, even if it's not the government, they're still looking to somebody else to solve their problems. Tell me, you have the knowledge, Tell me, be my superhero. And no, it's that people need to be their own superheroes. And then, the problems will start to fall by the wayside one by one. That's, so yeah, I can't stand the word movement. I think a lot of these terms that people use, like to label themselves without even realizing it. I know a lot of them were created to get people to marginalize themselves. That's how they get us divided, right? They'll get a group of people to say, "Well, I'm a truther," and then you'll get people that are maybe against the government, the way, or not against the government, but against the way government has become huge and out of control, right? And they don't want to associate themselves with the 9/11 truthers. I mean, how many times do you see infighting where it's like, I don't want to hang out, like the Ron Paul people don't want to hang out with the truthers, or, you know what I mean? Or vice versa. And it's stupid because we all have the same goal, freedom and truth. That's right. Same basic goals. But even on those lines, we get separated and we end up infighting, which is dumb. It's really dumb because you know what I mean? You can see it from this point. You know where I'm talking about. It keeps us separated, so that way we don't all work together as a cohesive, functioning team.
I kind of miss the fact in the quote unquote truther movement where we end each sentence with man. I kind of miss that. I might bring that back, actually.
Man.
I love the way you leave me out. You just hang me out to dry.
I haven't been able to do it and mess with you.
You do it all. I don't understand it.
I do it in private conversations with you too.
But you don't do it in private. That's the point I'm trying to make. You don't do it in private conversations. But boy, as soon as we're on a radio show, you're like, I'm going to let him talk, and then I'm just going to let silence smash him right in the face.
God, I missed hanging out with you.
Such a dick. You really are.
Thank you. Now that I've gotten you riled up, John Kerry signing the UN Arms Treaty. Go. Okay, so honestly, serious topics now. I have to pick your brain. Seriously, what do you think about that? I mean, I know that the Senate's going to say, yeah, we're not going to ratify it, and they're against it and everything. But
well, let's hope so.
Okay, yeah, but don't you think that maybe that'll just embolden this administration to do what they want anyway?
First of all, I think John Kerry has the worst plastic surgeon in the free world, because this guy looks awful. I don't know who did that surgery, but he looks ridiculous. A 70-something-year-old man went for facial reconstruct. I don't know what they tried to do. I don't know what they were shooting for, but they missed. Secondly, I think this entire charade that they're trying to pull over everyone's eyes and sneak it in under the radar, imagine that. Popeye, there was a big shooting again, and something else to distract people away, not to take away from the poor people that got killed in Kenya, but there's always seems to be a little distraction. Either there's a big holiday where people are so, as well as I do, when it gets around to the holiday season, man, nobody's paying attention to anything except for, what can I buy? What can I give? What can I get? But, you're planning family get-togethers. You're doing all these different things. There's football, Popeye. God, there's football. And there's all these
It's things. A Snoopy Christmas, Johnny. Don't you take away my Snoopy Christmas, or I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to cut us off because the break's sneaking up on us. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Went to break. Johnny had mentioned Christmas decorations. My wife and I went shopping the other day, and that crap's already out.
I didn't say a damn thing about Christmas decorations.
You had said something about. You had mentioned
You're
something.
such a liar.
You had mentioned something going out to break, and it made me think of Christmas decorations. That's my.
Well, yeah, I was just talking about Christmas and being distracted by the holiday seasons.
Yes. Well, that distracted holiday season Christmas decoration thing. They're already out. They're already distracting people.
Oh, I know they are. I absolutely. We've had Halloween decorations out. People have had it in their yard for the last month. The whole month of September.
It was on sale back in like June. Get your Halloween costumes now. They're going quick. Really? It's 4 months from now. No, there's no marketing going on there. There's no mind control going on. Makes me think of the illusion of choice. I talked about this the other night. We were talking about this earlier on your show too. They get you to think there's only one of two answers, A or B, and that's it. And then you have to pick from A or B. And then sometimes even if they give you, if people start to realize that there's other options other than A or B, they'll give you a faux option of maybe C, D, and E, but C, D, and E all lead back to the same place that A and B come from. So you have to actually go out and you have to pay attention. It goes, dude, everything from shopping to voting to it's all around you. The illusion of choice.
Well, yeah, and I choose right now that if I stop posting pictures of your feet on Facebook, please, I will unfriend you immediately.
Dude, I'm going to tell you what, we're going to be judged by what people, like in 200 years from now, we're going to be judged by like future societies on what people have posted on the internet because that stuff's never going to go away. And they're going to see people like posting pictures of their food, which even I've done. Once in a while, if I'm cooking and I get inspired, and I'm like, "Hey, look, I'm cooking," but I don't do that anymore because I realized how retarded and stupid it is to do that.
I remember when Twitter first took off, and it really kind of started gaining some steam. People were tweeting everything. They were in the bathroom tweeting and taking pictures of their bathroom while they're that's supposed to be your moment of silence and your moment of deep thought and whatever else you're doing in there. And I don't want to see pictures or your mirror or anything else. I don't want to see the look on your face as you're trying to get rid of the supper, whatever the case may be. I don't want to see it. I didn't want to see it then. I don't want to see it now. And I slightly got caught up in it for just a second because at that time I was over the road. I was an over the road truck driver, so I saw a lot of stuff. I would take a picture and snap it, upload it to Twitter and all that good stuff. But now it's just really annoying. People are still doing this. And it's, people just don't realize, Popeye, that this stuff is around. It doesn't go away.
We're going to be judged on this in the future. And like 200 years from now, future generations, future societies are going to be like, really? Like we look back and we're like, we look back 200 years ago and we're like, wow, Washington, Jefferson, people, Andrew Jackson, right? That all throughout history, all these different great and all the other great people. I'm just using them as examples, right? Like you think back to the people that came before you, and you're like, wow, these were people that had deep thoughts, and they pondered the future, and they actually worried about the future of the country and this, that, the other thing. And then like 200 years from now, people are going to look back on our generation or this society, I should say, and they're going to be like twerking. Tweeting and taking pictures of your food. Here. Oh, look! I painted my nails. Must tweet it. And I just tied my shoes. Must tweet that. I mean,
you mentioned twerking. Did you see the video of Jimmy Kimmel actually pulled one over on America? Very smart. It's obviously great advertisement for the show and the Jimmy Kimmel, whatever the name of the show is. I don't watch it, but. You know who he is, I'm sure, and he has this little late night talk show. And there's this girl that was quote unquote twerking, whatever the hell that means, and she's dancing, and then she does like a handstand by the door, right on the door. Someone walks through the door, she falls onto the coffee table, and then all of a sudden her leg's on fire, and she's screaming, and then the video cuts off. This thing got like I don't know how many millions of hits. Okay. Just over this stupid a girl, you say, okay, a girl's she looks dumb. She's not that great at what she's doing. And then she catches on fire. It's like people posting cat pictures. Their cat does something stupid, and then they get 5 million hits. But you can't get anybody to watch a video the truth, no matter what it is. And you get 20 people to watch, So Jimmy Kimmel comes out like a couple weeks later, a week later or whatever, and turns out he's the mastermind behind the whole thing. And he got millions of hits off this thing. It was unreal how many hits they got. And it was totally fake. It was completely fake. So, and people don't realize, so there's so many fake videos on YouTube. You have to be really careful. And that's what I've tried to tell my listeners. And that's what I've tried to tell my friends. You have to be careful because you can't believe every damn thing that comes in front of your face.
What's that old expression? Don't believe your lying eyes.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I don't want anybody believing me. When people tune into my show, when people tune in, I said, look, don't believe me. I don't care. I believe what I believe, okay? I believe what I want, and that's my personal decision, and it's my personal opinion. And if you don't agree with it, that's fine. I don't care if you don't agree with it. It used to bother me if you didn't agree with it, and I would fight you, and I would argue with you for hours on end. Now, I don't care. If you just do the research yourself, I'm happy. And if you come to a different conclusion than me, then hey, we'll look over the research together. And if you can prove that what guided me towards that decision is wrong, then I'll be a big man and I'll get on my show or whatever and I'll say that I was wrong. But how many people will do that out here, Popeye? Not very many, because most people will just argue. I mean, obviously, you still got people believing there's real Democrats and Republicans, that they actually are against each other. People still believe that.
Well, people are stuck in base consciousness, Johnny, and that's why when you present them with something like, say, I've even done this myself, and like you just admitted that you've even done it, and that's actually a step in the right direction. It's admitting that is a fault and then correcting it. Because like Kennedy said, an error only becomes a mistake when you refuse to correct it. So if you learn from your errors, which that's what they're for, you make an error and you learn from it. And I've been there myself too. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of being able to spot it and fix it. And if everybody did that, that's what I mean by the solutions to our problems are an inside job. That's an example of it. That's one step. Admitting something, admitting there's a problem to begin with. Most people don't want to admit that. Most people, they'd rather, again, the ego kicks in, the base consciousness kicks in, and it starts making you think, no, I can't be wrong. Because you start, like, look at the Iraq War. How many people do you know, they won't admit that there was a problem, we shouldn't have invaded Iraq, and they'll say to you, well, my son was killed there, or my nephew was killed, or my friend's kid was killed, or my brother, or my cousin, or my friend, maybe just the friend, or whoever, somebody they went to high school with, whatever, they were killed. So for them, they have an emotional attachment. That's that base consciousness level. They're emotionally attached to this person, and this person was killed. They can't come to grips with the fact that this person would have been killed for lies, because that's too much for them to handle. So it's almost more comforting for them to accept the other end of the deal, the lie itself, because then it's at least more comforting. At least it sounds better, and that's not going to fix the problem. I mean, if we admit that all those people that fought in the Iraq War, they died in vain. They shouldn't have died at all. Every one of those individuals should be back here right now with us.
But if you say that, you're a hater, you're a soldier hater, you don't support your troops, you don't support your country. And
right, because I want to bring all the people that died back to life and bring them back over here and give them back to life, because I hate them. And because I want to bring all the the millions plus Iraqi people that we killed, I want to bring them back to life too and give them back. If I could, that would be my gift. I would go back. If I could reverse time or fix that, I would. And but I'm a unpatriotic soldier hater, right? Because I have actually been called that. I've been told I'm not a real vet because of my stance on the Iraq War, and I'm like, no, I am a real vet because
I was just called a Jew on my show.
Well, they're just, honestly, it's just trollish behavior. And sometimes, even if it's not a troll, a lot of times you will get people that, like I said, they get emotionally attached, dude. I mean, I've had vets throw things at me and tell me, I had a guy argue with me at the VA and tell me I wasn't a good veteran because I didn't support anything the president said. And I looked at him and I said, I didn't take my oath in MEPS to the president. My oath was to protect the Constitution and the people of this country.
Ah, see, there's the key, and people don't understand that. People don't understand if you've never taken that oath, if you've never stood there shaking in your boots, taking that oath, realizing at that very second you just agreed to die for the people of your country and for your Constitution and for your, whatever else is thrown in there that they throw at you that, literally scares the daylights out of you. If you've never been there and you've never stood there and taken that oath, then you have no clue what you're talking about. And most people don't know. They really don't know. And a lot of people, and we're talking a lot of the older generation that is still in that mindset that they can't believe that their government is this twisted. They can't believe, they don't have a clue. They just cannot believe that their government would be involved in any of this shenanigans going on. They don't want to believe it. They're in denial, and they will be in denial until the day they die. We will not change their minds. I hate to tell you. Some we might. Some we might actually be able to clue in, and some of them actually might turn their, twist their way of thinking. But you know as well as I do, our generation is really the first generation to start changing their minds. Because everyone older than me, it's hard as heck to sit there and try to change their mind on anything because they're so dead set and they're so they want to believe so much that their government isn't this evil and that they're not involved in trying to rip us off and trying to shove things down our throat and FEMA camps and DHS is evil and they don't want to believe any of that stuff. They just will not believe it. And there's nothing that we can do to change some of their minds until the ball drops. Once the ball drops, we talked about this on my show. Once the ball drops, guess what? It's too late. It's too late.
Well, you know who I also hold, like, there's certain people that should be held accountable. I mean, mankind isn't naturally this stupid. We've been herded like sheep. But as a whole, people need to take personal responsibility. It's that simple. If you take personal responsibility for yourself, you more than likely won't want to go to a camp like that. You'd be like, nah, it's cool. I'll survive. I'm good. I know I can take care of myself. I know I can survive. And then you won't have to go running into a FEMA camp. They won't really have to round people up. I mean, I'm sure that, in a situation like a martial law situation, I'm sure they would have roundups at certain times. They would probably try to catch people off guard 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Told you earlier, there's going to be millions of people running for the FEMA camps.
Well, that's the thing. They won't really have to round people up. They'll just make it so crappy on the outside. And not even that they have to make it crappy. They just have to make it look crappy and get people's perception to be that it's, oh my God, scary. Ooh, oogity boogity. And, to people nowadays, dude, generations now, what would have been normal life 40 years ago, maybe they would consider that, unlivable, and they'll have to go live in a FEMA camp. Hey, free Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi and coffee.
And now you can actually finance your cell phones, your fancy smartphones. Now you don't have to worry about coming up with the $200 or the $300 or $400. You can just finance those things at $20 a month. They'll just add it onto your bill. So now you'll have your big smartphone that you can use on the free Wi-Fi.
Work credits. You can get a job working at one of the little stores in Camp FEMA.
What's the name of the movie? What's the? I just said it on the show the other night. Hunger Games. Hunger Games is very possible. It's very possible. People don't think it is, but it's extremely possible. If you look at what's going on around us right now, and you watch that movie, if you don't think for a second that is actually a future, one of our futures, then, and I say that by, what I mean is we have several futures ahead of us, okay? We're at a crossroads, and we could go several different directions right now. And that is one of the directions that we could easily go into. It wouldn't take much. And that's exactly what you're talking about, is literally we could end up like that, where people are just so dirt poor, rounded up in just slums and all that, while you've got the elite living in luxury and all that, and they actually get off like the old Roman back in the Roman days where they had people in the Colosseum fighting, killing each other and stuff, and they get off on that, which they do now. They do the same thing now. It's just,
Well, neo-feudalism, that's where they want to bring us back to. And then, it's like they want to make us all homeless and then have bum fights. And then,
exactly,
put it on their elite version of YouTube in the future, whatever YouTube turns into be, elite tube, elitist scumbag tube, whatever they call it.
Because they think they're so much better than us. They think we're nothing. We're scum. We're garbage.
Cattle. They actually call the people. I've had this conversation with Mark Passio. They call the general public the dead. They call everybody, the people, they call them the dead. And they look at them, the general public, us, we'll say all of us, right? They look at all of us like we're nothing but brain dead bodies, mindless zombies, sacks of flesh, basically, because we are not truly connected to who we are, to our souls, to our, we're not enlightened. And they understand that because they've dumbed us down through their system, but they call us the dead. They actually have even less regard for the police and the military. They call them their dogs. Why do you think military gets dog tags, homie? You know why they call them their dogs? Because they're willing to do the things they do to their own kind for a buck. So they have no use for the cops and the military either. They actually have less respect for them than they have for us, and they hold us with no respect whatsoever. They look at us like we're crap on the bottom of their shoe, and they look at cops and military like they're even less. But yet they use them. You see, that's why I try to tell my friends that are, police or military. I say, I explain this stuff to them, and I say, guys, don't you understand? You're being used. They look down on you like you're nothing, and they have no compunction about throwing you to the wolves to protect themselves. They don't care about any of you, okay? You would get more love and respect from the people that you attack for these scumbags if you protected them and took care of them than you would from these sacks of crap.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But what have we done to prove them wrong as far as, what you're saying before about they think we're, mindless and sheep and dead and all that? Well, we're really, as a percentage, percentage-wise, obviously there's some that are awake. But as a percentage, what are we doing to prove them wrong? Nothing. Not a damn thing. Because as long as we got football and American Idol and The Voice and all these other reality shows, well, I don't have time, Popeye. I don't have time to wake up. I don't have time to research. I've got shows to watch and video games. Grand Theft Auto 5, 800 million in one day. One day. Grand Theft Auto 5 made $800 million.
It broke, already broke $1 billion. Like the first couple days, it broke $1 billion in sales, dude.
What does that tell you?
What
does that tell you?
Wow. All I got to say is, wow. $800 million in a day in video game sales. And a lot of people say, well, the video games, they sell different versions between $60 and $150. Okay. That's still $800 million. In less than a week, the game made over $1 billion. You realize the video game made more in a week than in less than a week than the top 5 grossing films of all time combined, put together. So all the people that we say are brain-dead sheep that run to see the movies, look how much money they just spent on video games. Can you imagine if that money that was spent on video games, over $1 billion, can you imagine if that was put in towards, if everybody spent $60 or up to $150 would be the max you could spend, right? Because that's how much the game was. And instead of buying the game, you get an ownership plank or something. Like you get your name, like if your area needs a new bridge, the money you put forward will help build that new bridge, and you get your name forever in a piece of metal or a brick or something. Like they used to when they needed things built, and then they would get money and stuff for it. So sometimes they've done it for memorials or other things. So can you imagine If everybody in this country gave that $1 billion towards like fixing the infrastructure or something useful, but then the same people will turn around and go, oh, I pay my taxes and the government's not fixing anything, but I'm going to go vote for them again anyway because they promised that they'll fix it again, and I'll just keep doing it over and over and over again. People realize that that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Okay. Like, stop voting for somebody to fix the problem of government, okay? You're right, you do pay a ton of money into the government to fix your stuff, okay? But they're not. So how about we stop paying the money into the government and instead pay it towards, building our own fixing our own infrastructure? How about we become the government, because that's what we're supposed to be. We're the ones that are supposed to be the government anyway. The government's not some... I can't stand when people anthropomorphize it and make it like the government. Like it's some dude in a suit sitting in a chair somewhere, and that's the government. You know what I mean? That like represents the government. Bureaucrats. Well, why are there so many? How about if we roll it back? There shouldn't be that many. There just shouldn't be that many. I'm not being anarchistic or anything like that. It's just it's way overpriced.
I don't have time for that stuff, Popeye. Dude, I've got shows to watch. I've got shows to watch that show me what we should be doing. How retarded is that? How retarded is it for people to be so involved in a show that actually shows you what we should be doing as a people? You'll watch it, and you'll love it, and you'll follow it from beginning to end, and you'll even buy the DVDs, but you won't actually do what it takes. That is such a retarded thing to do.
Well, it shows you how the level of manipulation now, the people need to, again, everybody says, well, what's the solution? It's a simple one. We have to admit to ourselves that there actually really is a problem. If everybody just admitted that this stuff was going on, case in point, look how people responded to the Navy Yard shooter. The mainstream media puts out there that, oh my God, this guy's delusional, along with the FBI. This guy's delusional because he thought they were using some sort of quote-unquote ELF weapons. Ha, 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 they were beaming things into his head. It's a real technology. It's been around for a very long time. But yet, you're a conspiracy theorist, and they make fun of it, and they have to approach it that way. But you would think that anybody doing 5 minutes worth of research would see, right? So what I did was I did a test. I went out onto the mainstream websites, not like Mox News or anything like that on YouTube, but I went to CNN, Fox News, their channels, and a couple of the other mainstream people, the people that would actually put up their own reports, not somebody copying it, and I commented on it. The CNN videos were where I got the most flack from on my comments, and it wasn't like I said anything super inflammatory. All I said was, I said something to the effect of, yeah, FBI, sure, ELF weapons don't exist. Nothing to see here. Continue. Keep moving on. I said, even though 5 minutes worth of simple research will show you that they do exist and have been around for a very long time. So the response I get is, you're a tinfoil hat shitbag. Things like that.
Well, to be fair, though, Popeye, they had to cover up for the AR-15 thing. Because he walked in with an AR-15. No, wait. No, he didn't.
From what I understand, it was a transforming AR-15. It was an AR-15 until the AR-15 realized Piers Morgan was going to blame it, and it didn't want to get blamed, so it transformed into a shotgun and to cover itself. It's a conspiracy within a conspiracy.
Exactly. So they had to cover it up, by bringing up and making fun of something that actually does exist, unlike the AR-15, which never existed. They had to come up with something that actually technology that has existed for a long time. It has been proven, and there's been several studies done, and it does happen. But that's conspiratorial, though. That's way too much. That's beyond my scope, sir.
Well, the general public, though, their reaction of some people were like, yeah, that the technology does exist, but a lot of people were like, you see, this is why we need tighter mental health restrictions, and if we had better gun control laws, they would have stopped. If we had more background checks, this guy wouldn't have been able to get the gun. And it's like no one's using any common sense anymore. Everybody's just totally checked out. Like it's sometimes it's like I look at things and I say these scumbags, the powers that shouldn't be. It's almost like their plan has worked. But I still have hope because I know more and more people are waking up. But man, there are still and a lot of the comment sections are filled with idiots anyway. But there really are people that believe that stuff. I run into these people. I have conversations with these people during the day. It's just you know what I do now when someone says something stupid, I face palm it. Literally, I'll just give it right to their face, dude. I don't care. And then I shake my head, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, you make my brain hurt. You really make my brain hurt. And then I walk away, and they're like, "What?" Because I'm not debating you. There comes to a certain line where I stop. If you're not going to use any sort of rational thought, there's no point in engaging you in a debate. And the only reason why I do the face palm, forehead slap thing is because it's a visual reference to them to let them know that I think they're, done. Like our Caesar would do with his thumb. Stick his thumb out and put it down. You get the thumbs down, sir. I've
had that happen at work where these poor workers that and they are poor. They come in on their break and all that, and I sit in the corner and I listen. I try not to interact because if I do, I know what's going to happen. So I just sit and listen to these people, and dude, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing how stupid.
I know. I get frustrated, dude. Sometimes I'll blurt something out loud. My wife, if we're in public, she'll look at me and just like, shut up. She gets pissed at me because I'll be like, that's not true. And then I have to cover my mouth and walk away. So I'm going to interrupt us because the break is sneaking up on us. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We get back. I'm going to pick Johnny's brain on a few interesting subjects. So stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye from FederalJack.com. It is September 27th, 2013. Joining me for hour number 2 is my good friend, Johnny English. Johnny, welcome back for hour number 2, brother.
Hey, glad to be back, sir.
Cutting through the BS episode.
We sure are.
Number 14.
Are you sure it's 14?
Sir?
We actually argued about this before the show. We had plenty of time to talk, but but I don't know if it's 13 or 14. But we'll say 14. But I think I'm right. I think it's 14.
Yes, I think it's 14, sir.
By the way, hello, Santiago. I'm just watching your little globe thing twist, and I'm just reading, just looking at the names on it.
I know another host that used to do that. He used to give shout-outs to the people coming to the Globe on his website. It was rather funny. Anyway, back in the day. We were talking about the...
Howard Stern?
No. Oh. No one near as popular as Howard Stern. And I'm not saying that because I think Howard Stern was great. I'm just saying he didn't have the listenership. Anyway, the dumbing down of society. Can you say that they're not dumbing down society anymore? If you have kids, you should take them out of public school, by the way. But don't put them in charter schools either. That's ridiculous. Homeschool. But 6th graders learn all about Jay-Z and Big Pimpin'.
Hey.
Yep. Students at a South Haven, Mississippi middle school were educated in the, quote, Big Pimpin' thug life of Jay-Z.
Gee, I wonder why Mississippi's at the bottom.
Yeah, and the best part is the school district can't imagine why any would object to it. 3 days they spent learning about Jay-Z and how great of a hip-hop artist he is, and they actually were tested on, quote, Jay-Z's resilience.
His resilience?
Right. Don't worry about George Washington or the Constitution or maybe even, reading the Iliad or the Odyssey. The first actual written works. That's why they make you read that in English class, right? Don't bother learning about maybe the Peloponnesian War or ancient Greece or Rome or anything like that because that has nothing to do with our history today. No. Instead, let's worry about important things like Big Pimpin'.
Well, what exactly?
You have kids. Would you pull your kids out of school if you found out that the school was teaching them, quote, Big Pimpin'? I don't know what Big Pimpin'... I don't know exactly...
I was going to ask you, what is it? Maybe I'll like it. What is Big Pimpin'?
Is it like home ec? Is like when you're...
Am I too old to Big Pimp?
You're looking through all the electives. You're like, home ec, wood shop, big pimpin'.
Is big pimpin' a verb or is it a noun? I don't understand.
I think I'm gonna take big pimpin'. Extra 5 credits on my class. Let's see. It says nowhere really. It's just one of the. Another song talked about thug life. My child was getting an education about thug life. One lady said she was upset. Of course she was.
If I remember right, I don't think Jay-Z was a quote-unquote thug. I don't think he was actually
a wannabe thug.
I don't think he was raised in the hood, though. I could be wrong. I'm not a big Jay-Z fan. I don't really follow the Illumina. I mean, the rappers.
Well, like, with the parents, a lot of people would say, who cares, right? Well, first of all, why are they wasting 3 days of your child's school year? That's, if you think about the amount of time that they're put in school and the little teaching that's actually done, the little amount of, if they even teach at all anymore, right? They're wasting 3 days. They're not going to worry about teaching your kid anything, of value or substance. They don't teach them. I told you I met somebody, and this was probably 6-7 years ago now. She had just graduated the year before, and she told me when I met her, we were talking about the JFK assassination and stuff, and when I had said that he was shot in the head, she goes, "He was shot?" And I looked at her. I said, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, they didn't tell us that. They just told us that he died in office." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, they just said he died." I'm like, "Didn't they say that there was a large metal projectile that came flying through his forehead and, out the back, and that had something, quite big to do with his leaving this physical realm?" No, they just said he died in office. So they'll cover JFK as he died in office, but they'll spend 3 days on big pimpin'. Anybody see the problem?
Well, again, we don't have time. I mean, we really don't. I mean, we got to learn about the big pimping stuff, and you got to learn, what their rappers' wives do, and athletes, what they're doing on their off time when they're getting paid millions to play a game. We just don't have the time, and I can understand their feelings about this thing, that we should have this in all schools. No, I had my daughter on this week. I had my 12-year-old daughter. She was on the show with me a few times this week, and when I could actually get her to talk on the show, she's kind of she doesn't like anybody really in the school, and because she can't have a deep conversation. Okay, her and I didn't realize this until just recently, that she actually enjoys just sitting and talking about reality and about stuff going on around us. And she will sit and look at me and take everything in, which makes me proud on one side, and then another side, I'm just aghast that a child is wanting, and she hates to be called a child, but I have to remind her that she is still a child, and she's so smart and she's so intuitive that, and the rest of the kids in the school are so materialistic because of the way, obviously, they've been raised. And what we're force feeding, and we let them, we babysit them with Xboxes and PlayStations and videos and things like that, computers and tablets, and we force feed all this stuff, and we say, hey, I don't have time for you, so I'm going to give you this electronic device that will take up all your time. You're going to get so involved in this, and then I don't have to talk to you anymore. And that's the big problem. And that's been a big problem for a long, long time. They don't have anyone to talk to, and they don't have anyone to explain things to. I read a story, just real quick. I read a story the other day about devices that basically Google Now can raise your child. If you have an Android device, you know what Google Now is. Now they can ask just about any question. They can hit the little button, and they can talk into the phone, and it answers them. Now, and they actually had a commercial about this, the Google Now is basically raising your children. Any questions they have at all, they can just ask Google Now.
No, that's not creepy.
No, it's not creepy at all. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
Yeah, nothing. I can't see that leading to any problems.
So I'm really proud of the fact that my daughter wants to sit and have lengthy conversations and about serious subjects. I'm not talking about and she hates the fact that all the kids in her school, all they worry about is and we're talking 12 years old boys, and I'm talking about the girls, boys, and what the clothes they're wearing, and what their parents are getting them, gifts, and what they've got in their bedrooms as far as whatever, and that's all they care about, because that's the society we've created. That's the society we've allowed to happen. And it is sad. It really is sad.
It is, and that's what I'm talking about when I say we're going to be, people are going to look back on us in the, if I say that partially, I try to motivate people to get them to realize, and we shouldn't be happy with where we're at. We should be ashamed of what we've allowed ourselves to become. Because if we allow that 10 seconds, that 5 seconds, that feeling of crappiness that you feel, you're not going to want to experience that again, right? And the only way to not experience it again, well, there's two ways to do it. Either deny that what's going on, which a lot of people do, or you pick the harder of the two, and you face up to the problem and you deal with it. Of course, usually when you face up to the problem and deal with it, you don't have to deal with it anymore because you've dealt with it. When you don't deal with it and you just, stick your head in the sand and go, la, 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 then it always comes back to bite you. But, what do I know? I'm only just going through the same experience. I don't ever want anybody to think that, like, if I dole out advice or something like that, that I look at myself like I'm on some high horse, because I go through the same exact experiences that you all do. I know Johnny does. I think it's great, by the way, that you and your daughter have in-depth conversations, and I told you just the other day, I think it's awesome that she comes on your radio show with you. I think that is awesome. It's good that there are kids out there that talk to their parents and want to ask questions, and they have questions. When I was a kid, I was the same way. I talked to my mother all the time, except my mother was one of these parents that was like, I don't want you to watch TV. I want you to read books. I want you to go outside and play. I don't, she wouldn't feed me Chef Boyardee. She would rather, and we didn't have a lot of money, but she would rather, do it, work an extra couple hours, go get a part-time job, work her fingers to the bone, or do whatever she had to do to put an extra couple bucks on the table, rather than, or to get an extra couple bucks to put good food on the table, rather than get like Chef Boyardee or anything like that for me growing up. She would never feed me any of that like processed food crap, and because of that, it helped me as I got older. I'm very picky about the food I eat, and now I even eat a lot healthier. But I'm really picky about it. I won't eat fast food. I don't eat any of that crap. Won't eat it. I mean, the fastest, I think that the most, closest thing to fast food I'll get is like, the local pizzeria, but it's not a Domino's. It's a real handmade, pizzeria with real dough and, real ingredients and stuff. And I go out of my way to try to find that stuff. And to be part of that, I mean, I know healthy eating is good for you, but a lot of that has to do with what I was exposed to when I was a child by my mother. You know what I mean? The way I question things. My mother and father are the ones that nurtured my brain to, question and ask, not just go along to get along. My mother told me about fluoride. I was 18, and I was going to vote first time, and it was a presidential election, but they were also having, they put the local stuff on the ballot too, and they wanted to fluoridate the water, the town did. And a lot of the residents were against it. And I remember, now my mother was not a conspiracy theorist in any way, shape, or form, okay, but she hated the UN, and she did not like fluoride. You know why she didn't like fluoride? Because my grandmother was in a concentration camp. My mother, when they started, she was one of these people that started researching stuff. So even though she wasn't a quote-unquote conspiracy theorist, when they wanted to fluoridate the water, she had already known about the camps and everything, and that there were prison camps. People can debate whatever they want, but people were held in camps. All right, and she started to research fluoride, like why would they want to put it, and she found out that how it was connected to the prison camps and everything else. And I remember her telling me when I was 18. Vote no to fluoridate the water. And I remember her saying to me, they used it in the gulags and Stalin's gulags, and Hitler used it in the prison camps, the Nazi prison camps. And they did that because it would keep people docile. stop them from, having the urge to fight back.
Conspiracy, sir.
Well, but what I'm saying, this is my mother who wasn't a conspiracy theorist, and she even realized this. You know what I mean? So because of that, so look at how I am today. So what you're doing with your kid and what other people are doing with their kids, like Joe's kids, Joe's 16-year-old son, amazingly smart kid, just super, super smart kid. He's homeschooling all his other kids are smart too because he's homeschooling them. He's not putting them through the public retardation. Here on our network, we have, you remember Natalie? She came on my show a few times.
Yeah.
She's got her own show here on the network. I mean, the kid's amazing. She's like a prodigy. She does her own show. She puts everything together. She's her own producer, host. She does all of her own editing. She goes out and hunts down the people for interviews. So I have hope because there is hope in the younger generations. Like her parents are doing a good job. Joe does a good job with his kids, so does his wife. You guys are obviously doing the right thing because your kid wants to talk to you. Like, the fact that your kid said, Dad, I want to talk to you and hang out with you. I mean, especially nowadays, you know what I'm talking about? Most kids are buried in their iPhone. I mean, how many times have you gone out to dinner with your kid or your wife and you're sitting at the restaurant and if you look around, the other night I went out with my wife, right? And we looked around and I literally do it. I would say 78 to 80% of the people there were literally face buried in their iPhones, headphones plugged into their iPhone, not talking, no interaction with the person next to them, literally texting.
Oh yeah, and it goes on at home too. It's and they've done hey, I'll be the first one to admit it, man. They've pulled this off and they've done a great. I have to give them credit as far as how they've accomplished everything they've accomplished, and by they, I'm talking about the ones obviously they're in charge. But if you look at what they've done to society and what they've done to the family, how they've broken the families apart, it is absolutely, you almost have to admire what they've done and how easily it was done. I mean, because this is easy, man. You wouldn't think that it would be so easy, but it is. And they've done it. And people still to this day, dude, if you walk up and tell them, and you sit there and lay it out on the line and say, hey, you remember back in the day when you were a child and you guys sat around and had dinner every night and you sat at the table no matter what, there was no TV, there was none of that stuff. You sat at the table and your mother or grandmother or whoever, they made a meal and you sat down and ate. And you didn't leave until you ate everything on your plate. Because,
and if you did, that was your breakfast the next morning.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
Been there.
Or you carried it to lunch.
How do you think I learned to eat cold leftovers and like it?
Right. Exactly.
So when I went in the military, I was like, this ain't nothing. Should have lived in my house growing up. You know what I mean? Like, I could eat anything. It doesn't matter. And to this day, I know exactly what you mean, dude. You're right. You hit the nail right in the head. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just you're right.
No, it's so the way they've done it and the way they've broken up the families, and people still will absolutely disagree with you. They will say, "Oh no, our family life's great. We sit around and watch American Idol." No, that's not what I'm talking about, because most people don't have a clue what's going on in their child's life. They have no idea. I'm blessed, and I'm blessed to have a very smart children and a very good wife, a great wife, and she wants to be involved, and she is involved, and I try to be I'm trying to be more involved in my kids, just sitting and talking, and I didn't realize it. I really didn't know, because I never had that growing up. Okay, I didn't have anyone to really talk to. I was a loner. I was a only child. And my mom was off. My grandmother pretty much raised me for most of my early life. And she had to work, so I was at home alone. I'm like 8, 9, 10 years old, home alone. And I just learned to deal with it and be alone. And it kind of affected me later in life, because right now I hate being in crowds of people. I hate it. I mean, I absolutely cannot stand to be in a room full of people. I don't like big events. I don't like big family gatherings, none of that stuff, because I didn't have that. Once my grandmother died, there were no more get-togethers. There were no more reunions. So, I was very young when she died. So the family unit has been totally destroyed, and that's the reason why. There is no one man goes and works and makes enough money for the entire family to live off of, so the woman can take care. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not, please, and I already know what's going to happen. The women's lib people are going to flip out. What do you mean a woman can't work and all those? Look, taking care of the house and kids is an extremely tough job.
Aaron Russo spoke to Nick Rockefeller. Nick Rockefeller admitted to him that the Rockefeller family funded the women's liberation movement for two reasons.
I believe it.
The destruction of the family to get the female out of the house sooner, get the kid into state-sponsored education that much sooner, and with the women coming into the workforce, that's more people they can tax. Because they could only tax like half the populace at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Now they can tax the women, too.
Oh, but you better not say that out loud. You better not say that in a group of women, boy.
I've taken feminists on. You should have seen it at Occupy Miami. They came over and actually sliced up one of the people's tents that was there that I knew. But I got into it with a few of the feminists, and that's one of the things I threw in their face. And the girl was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, Gloria Steinem worked for the CIA, right? She was bankrolled by them, via the Rockefellers. What are you talking about? You're a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, she admits it. Go look it up. Came out a couple years ago. She admitted it. Oh, I guess I'm lying, though, right? Even though she admitted it. People have no clue. None. Because we're controlled. If we just admit that this problem exists, we can turn it around very fast. Because the same methods that are used to control us, we can turn around and use to, get rid of the crap. I always tell people, don't throw a sledgehammer through your television. They're like, I want to get rid of my TV. We should put a hammer through it. No. Just disconnect the cable from the box and take the cable box out. Hook your DVD player up to it. You can hook Netflix up to it. There's actually a lot of good documentaries on there. But
well, I hate to plug something that I'm not going to make any money off of. You're not going to make any money off of. But there's a neat little device called Chromecast.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Unfortunately made by Google, but it's a little plug. It's an HDMI plug. It looks like a memory stick that you would, just a little memory stick you would load stuff onto off of your computer. But it's an HDMI port, and you plug it into your TV if you have an HDMI plug, which most do nowadays. And off of your phone, your computer, anything else, whatever you broadcast on your phone will broadcast on the TV, and it automatically adjusts. And you can just sit there and watch YouTube videos or anything else, whatever you can play on your phone or your tablet or your computer or whatever, you can play right there on the TV.
So I'm saying, use their technology against them.
Exactly, and that's what we have to do.
Like it's okay. They have brainwashing technology. The technology they have can put their ideas subconsciously into your head. Well, what happens if you could use that same technology to get rid of that crap and fill your head with truth and light and knowledge? Oh, how about that? That's a good way to start, right?
Absolutely.
Start holding screenings and stuff. Can you imagine that, dude? If you get one of those for $35, you could get one of those things. Or, like, if you have, I have the hard drives that when people get them once in a while, I would load them up. Over the years, I've sold like 200 or 300 of those things. And I tell people, when they get them, I'm like, have screenings or whatever. And back in the day, it would be a lot harder because they'd have to get a projector. Now, you could have a screening in your house if you have a hard drive filled with, and you don't have to get one from me. People go out and buy a friggin' 4 terabyte hard drive, go download some free YouTube download software, and have at it. It's not that hard, okay? It's just a matter of you actually putting forth said effort to do so, but it's actually not that hard to do it.
Oh, absolutely. Even if you got to pay a small fee or get together with a bunch of people and everybody donate enough money to rent out, like we have a place here in town, the little town I'm in, and it's a little hall, and they have like bingo, and they have, sometimes they'll have all kinds of little different functions in there and stuff.
But you don't even need a projector anymore, dude. You can
exactly.
You can do it with that little Chrome thing to the TV.
Yeah.
Or you could even they have DVD players now that have a USB plug in them. So you could you could put a couple of movies on a memory stick, or if you have a hard drive and plug it in via USB, and then go through the thing on your hard drive. I mean, if you could take a USB memory stick and plug it into your car stereo and listen to music on your USB memory stick there, or whatever audio is there, then use your imagination, people. Think outside the box. Think if you were picture it if we were like in a click and point video game. but anything was possible. You just have to imagine it. Okay? That's how it is right now. And that's actually how reality works. We just have to, sometimes it takes a little while to physically manifest itself, but it's really simple. We have the technology that 237 years ago, the founding fathers would have, this would have been their wet dream. I mean,
absolutely. It would have been so easy to spread the word, and that's what we're all trying to do. You're trying to do it. I'm trying to do it. There's several people trying to do this, and if you can get together again, even reverting back all the way earlier in the show when you're talking about getting together and as a community trying to basically build your infrastructure and not relying on the government funding and things like that. I've always said, and this kind of breaches into religion a little bit, but that 10% tithing or whatever that they say you're supposed to do, I think that was geared more towards if you have money and you've got enough money or whatever, and somebody's hurting, maybe somebody I've had a lot of bad things happen to us recently, and we're hurting for money. So, but there's people that are a lot worse off than I am, that we are. So, if you can help those people out, if you pay a little bit on their electricity bill, or just buy them food, you go to the grocery store. You don't have to hand them cash, because that's one thing. You don't really hand people cash. Some people just aren't going to be able to deal with that. So you go out and help people. Take that 10% or whatever, and pay somebody's light bill, or pay on their light bill, or whatever. And that's how we help each other. And that's how we do it without relying on an outside entity like the government. But as long as we keep running to the government and begging and wanting this and that and all these stupid programs that are out there that they're actually cutting now. I just saw the story that they're actually cutting the food stamp program. So be expecting riots very soon. But, we can do it ourselves. We really can. It's really not that hard to do, but getting somebody to release that money for a second is the hard part.
I saw that thing about the food stamps, by the way. That's all I gotta say is, that's gonna be interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, break coming up. 3 minutes, we'll be right back. Stay tuned. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment of tonight's Friday edition of DTRH. Cutting Through the BS, episode number 14, I believe it is. Yes, we hope. We've lost track over the course of time.
We reserve the right to change the number.
Yes, we reserve the right to change the number. So if I say 14 and the number's different on the title of this later on in the archive, well, I apologize. It's because it's been a while and Johnny and I lost track and couldn't remember exactly what number it was right before we came on air. But hey, that's the beauty of hanging out with Johnny and doing radio with him. This is how it is. When he comes on, it's, all bets are off. It's like two good friends, two good radio hosts just ripping into these topics and talking about this stuff. And it's important. Usually some of the best conversations, come out of this stuff. A lot of good radio. And Johnny, I want to say, by the way, thanks again, man, for, I know you did an hour before you came on air. And I know you do have a personal life, so thank you for giving up 2 hours tonight to come and hang out with me.
Hey, no problem, man. I enjoy it, and we always have fun, and at least cover some serious stuff too. But we always seem to find a way to find the lighter side of stuff. So hopefully, at the very least, we entertain some people and maybe throw out some useful information at the same time in our own little way.
Well, in that line of thinking with humor and true information, I have a mix of both for you. You want to see the kind of people we're going to be up against or I don't want to say up against, not we're going to be up against, but the general public that you're going to have to deal with if it hit the fan tomorrow. Remember we were talking about the Real Housewives of economic collapse? Well, just imagine that's like bad, right? Oh my God, no one can go to the ATM, or they go to the ATM, nothing. They go to use their card, nothing. And, nobody's card works, right? That'd be bad, right? That really would be pretty bad. Or they turn food stamps off. Oh my God, because they've already got like half the populace, now addicted to food stamps, right? Because people, once they get food stamps, I've experienced this. My wife got them, had them for a period of time a few years ago when she needed them, and she had them for a couple months, and we didn't, at the end of her having them, I really didn't like her having them because I realized that our spending had been changed a little bit, the way that I viewed things, because we had that extra there to rely on, and we knew it was going to come in each month. And although this is going to sound weird, I would rather be on my toes the way I am now, because I'm more careful with how I handle my finances, because I'm not relying on that. And people can say, well, that makes no sense. Well, it does make sense, because I'm not relying on that stipend from the government. So I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not, I can't live without them. A lot of people end up centering their spending habits and other things they do around that. So I'm just saying, I've seen, by my own experience, it changed, over a 6-month period of time. And when we stopped using them, we went back to the way we were. And not that I was running around spending lavishly or anything like that. It's just, if you've seen somebody, or if you've ever been on food stamps and you're not, you'll understand what I mean. You're a lot more in tune to certain things. You just pay more attention to the price of things and everything else. So I just think, everybody relying on that stuff, it puts you in a certain frame of mind. And that's not really, I know. So with that being said, can you imagine if that stuff was turned off, right? They turned off food stamps, they turned off, debit cards, all that stuff. It'd be bad, right? Well, let me give you an example, and it's kind of humorous, and I've played this before, but a couple of years ago, Popeye's Chicken did this thing where they ran an ad, I guess free chicken or whatever, and they ran out. They only had a limited amount of chicken, and they ran out. And listen to the people flipping out. Now, A, think about if there was no food, period. But B, think about how ignorant and how dumbed down the people have become because they rely on Popeye's Chicken. Just listen.
Fast food chain Popeyes became a victim of its own advertising today. So many customers lined up for a big special. Some locations, including one in Penfield and the city, ran out of chicken. Tonight, customers were clucking their disapproval. Customers at the drive-thru heard this.
Hold on a second. I hate when news stations do that. They're clucking their approval. Stop it. Okay, you're not a comedian. You're presenting news. Stop.
That's funny. Come on.
Ugh.
That was clucking. Get it?
Yes.
Get it? Clucking? Popeye's clucking? Huh? Chicken? Get it?
But where's the rim shot when I know? Ugh. Okay, let's see what they heard when they pulled up.
Something. Hold on. I got to rip my headphones off and smash them on the floor.
Let's listen to what they heard. They pulled up to the drive-thru, and the Popeyes is closed, and there's like a recorded message on the thing, and people start yelling at the drive-thru, but there's nobody there.
It's recorded message.
Sorry for the inconvenience, but we are all out of chicken and we are closed for the rest of the day. Thank you and have a blessed day.
One woman yelled back at the machine.
People have kids that they trying to feed for the special, and you mean to tell me that we can't feed our kids? Because y'all didn't order enough chicken. Y'all knew y'all was having this special almost 2 months ago, and that's wrong.
But no one was listening. The Popeyes on Lake Avenue was closed by dinner time.
Now, first of all, how am I supposed to feed my kids? Well, maybe if you weren't sitting in a tricked-out SUV with Dolce & Gabbana sunglasses on, you'd know how to feed your kids.
Maybe those 27-inch rims, maybe you didn't need those?
Yeah, maybe your priorities are a wee bit out of whack. I mean, it's just, how am I supposed to feed my kids? Well, I don't know. Maybe you should be a good mother.
A cook?
Yeah, go to the store and buy, I don't know, didn't your mother teach you how to cook? It's pretty simple. You go to the store. There's this place called the Food Market, okay? You go there. They have stuff on the shelves. It's called food. You buy it. You take it home. There's just things called pots. You fill them with water. You can boil stuff in it, make sauce, cook it in the sauce. There's a lot of things. You can even get a pan and you can fry some meat.
Hold on. I'm trying to write this down.
Did I lose you? Where did I lose you? At the store?
I don't know. There's something about a pot and a pan. I got screwed up.
Forget it. We'll just go back to Popeye's Chicken.
Kidding me? I think that's bad because I'm sure hungry.
No chicken.
No chicken? They just out of chicken.
I said I'm calling customer service now to see where there's another Popeyes at.
I'm calling customer service. I mean,
this guy's willing to drive 50 miles to the next Popeyes because, by golly, I need Popeyes and I need it now.
How about just go to the food store and buy the chicken for much cheaper and make it yourself? it would probably take you less time than driving up to Popeyes and back and eating some like MSG laced food.
But it won't taste like Popeyes.
Ugh. Yes, I know it's ironic. Popeye is making fun of Popeye's chicken. I know.
Yes, the irony is killing me.
Yes, it's not lost on me.
They always run out of food, sides, whether it's mashed potatoes and gravy, coleslaw. They always run out of something. It's very disappointing. I wanted some chicken today.
Other locations ran out of...
Hold on. Popeyes is the only place in the world you can buy chicken.
Because
you can't get chicken anywhere else but Popeyes.
Because it was a deal. It was $4.99 chicken special, so it was only $5. That's why. First of all, I wouldn't want to eat whatever they're selling for $5. Okay. The amount of stuff that they have to go through to get the chicken into your hands, it's probably like the stuff that fell off the chicken, and they just scooped it up in a snow shovel, and they put some breading on it and cooked it. Ugh.
Hey, I've worked in fast food before. If there's a special, there's a reason why. There's a reason why.
Don't eat the mystery meat.
Just trust me on that. There's a reason why.
It's amazing how people get pissed. There's more to it. We're only about halfway through. Hold on, you'll like the rest. It gets better.
Chicken 2, the $4.99 special, too good to pass up.
I just left Penfield Popeyes. They were out of chicken there, so I ran to the city to this one, and they're out too. This is ridiculous.
They should have had a stockpile of chicken for this day.
They should have had a tractor trailer out back with extra chicken on ice, you know?
Maybe it was the economy that caused the rush on chicken.
At that price in this day and age, that is a good deal. Isn't that sad? In this economy, people trying to spend money and they don't want it. I was trying to feed my family tonight. Can't get that bucket in now.
Customers felt duped.
Well, hold on.
I'm never.
First of all, Popeyes doesn't have buckets. All right, I want to make that clear.
Well, he's pissed because he's not going to get it. He's probably thinking of KFC.
He needs to get his story straight because
And what about KFC? If people are pissed, why don't they just go to Kentucky Fried Chicken? I mean, if you're going to eat fast food,
because it's more money.
See, that's why you don't eat fast food. It's much cheaper to go buy the friggin' chicken and cook it yourself.
These days it is. Have you seen the prices? Literally, seriously, I mean, I'm not even joking. The prices of fast food now, yeah, literally you could go sit down at a restaurant and eat a decent meal. One of these nice restaurants that actually doesn't serve GMO, the few restaurant chains in America that refuse to serve it, you could actually go and sit and have a nice meal, for maybe a couple bucks more. It's ridiculous. The fast food has gone way up. And
it's disgusting.
Yeah, and it's gross, and it makes you sick for about 3 days afterwards, and you're sitting on the toilet. But hey, you could take a picture of what you dropped in there and tweet it.
Dude, I was on. Yeah, though that's what Twitter's for. And don't worry, even though the Library of Congress, keeps everybody's tweets, I'm sure that nobody will look back in 200 years through the tweets and go, "Oh my God, these people."
I just hope people at the NSA over there at the Utah Data Center, I really hope they delete those. I mean, surely they're not keeping that around.
Yeah. Just like TSA doesn't keep any of the photos in those naked X-ray scanners, right?
Oh, Corp. Come on. That would be wrong. That would be, no.
Yeah, sure.
I'm sure none of those made it home into someone's bathroom. I guarantee you that.
Dude, there's still people that think, like, TSA is a good agency. They've prevented terror attacks. No, they haven't. They haven't caught one terrorist. One. Not one.
That's what's funny. Not one.
They have a 0% track record. Well, we've caught people smuggling drugs, but that's not what they were supposed to be for.
Hey, where was the TSA when those 4 or 5 Somalis or whatever they were that lived in Minnesota flew? They had to fly because I don't think they ran there. I don't think they drove there. I don't think they swam there. I think they jumped on an airplane and flew over to the mall to help, shoot it up and stuff. Where was the TSA when those people were jumping on the airplanes?
They were helping them get through. They probably had preferred traveler status. They probably had that card.
They were patting down an 80-year-old woman in a wheelchair. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, they were busy. They were busy looking in the diaper of a 6-month-old baby because that could be Al Qaeda. It's like the movie. It's like the movie Airplane. Sonny Bono walks up. He's like, "I'll have the third bomb on the left." He's over at the newsstand. Or, the one dude, he walks through the security checkpoint, he's got 2 bandoliers of machine gun bullets over, and the guy's just waving him through, and then the little old lady walks through, and she beeps, and they beat the crap out of her, and they tackle her to the ground. That movie was made back in, like, the 70s, and that's literally what we're living in now. I mean, that was considered humor back then, but we actually live in that now.
Yeah, that's actually turned out to be true. See, that's when you start wondering, dude. How many of these movies, I mean, seriously, how many of these movies were made as a foretelling, as a future type deal? Just like Hunger Games, and then you look at all the other ones that were made just before 9/11, the TV show, of course, that we like to mention so much. And, all the different things, it's like they're foretelling. They're telling you what they're going to do. I mean, they really are. They're actually putting it out there in plain sight. But nobody picks up on it. Nobody understands it until it's too late.
It's been said there's a universal law that they have to tell you what they're doing in order to not develop that karmic debt. Because our actions, they do have even if people don't want to believe in this or not, it's just like if you're religious, you believe if you do good, that goes on your scorecard, right? And if you do bad, that goes on your scorecard. Well, same thing, karmic debt. That's the way it works, kind of the same way, right? So the power that shouldn't be, these whatever they want to call them, they believe in this universal law. We'll say that you have to tell people what you're going to do to them in order to not be burdened with that karmic debt of what you did. So a lot of the times you see things in movies. I mean, a lot of times the filmmakers themselves might know something, and maybe that's their way of, the story is their way of putting it out there. It's an allegory. But a lot of times it's done on purpose because they're telling you. It's just, the rules don't say, well, you can't make up a story about it and tell it via a story. The rules aren't, it's not like it comes with a caveat to it. Universal law A, subsection 263. That's not how it works. It is what it is, and these people understanding that, typical scumbaggery, they figure out a way to manipulate it. And if they tell you they believe that, and whether or not it's true, I mean, I guess if you wanted physical proof, right, you could probably find it underneath the Vatican if we could get in there and raid it and actually see all the stuff they have under lock and key. But they believe in this. Doesn't matter what we believe. They believe in this.
Oh, exactly.
And that's one of the reasons they do that. So I know that, I've stumbled across that. So I think that that's one of the things they do is I think they're actually telling us so that they don't have to hold that karmic debt.
Well, yeah, and I've always said that too. I've always said that they believe in something. It doesn't matter what you believe. I don't care what they don't care. I don't care. It doesn't matter if you have no faith, some faith, the wrong faith, the right faith. It doesn't matter. It has. If you're an atheist, it doesn't matter. They have their own beliefs, and they're using them in very devious ways and very evil ways. So that's the case, and it doesn't matter if you believe me what I'm saying right now. It really doesn't. It's gonna happen. It's happening. It has happened, and it will keep happening until people finally wake up. And and unfortunately, I don't see that happening right now. I see it slowly but surely. But is it going to be in time? Is it going to be fast enough? I just right now, this very second, I don't see it. I hate to be a Debbie Downer. But.
No, I know. I will. Looking at it, dude, I'm sitting right next to you, looking at the same picture, and I get it. I mean, I honestly, because of what I've experienced myself, I think that the awakening is actually going faster than we think. It's just we can't see it because, again, it's our perception of things does have a way of modifying, I guess, the collective perception, right? So if these people know that, the powers that shouldn't be, if they know how we manifest reality and all this other stuff, right? Well, if they know that, then they can get us by doing other things. They manipulate us to manifest a certain reality that they want. I think the key to winning this whole thing is just realizing that they're completely irrelevant. They're like bullies. If you want to narrow it down, they're like a friggin' schoolyard bully. And
yeah, exactly. And I read a story the other day too about someone had a pro-gun type sign in their yard, and they put. What was funny is they put out one of those wildlife cameras, and one guy put out a wildlife camera, another one put out a hidden camera, and a video camera, and he caught a police officer actually yanking the sign out of the yard, and then they put up another one, and then that's when they actually caught him yanking the sign out of the yard. I believe it was in New York somewhere, of course. And what I would say to that is keep putting the sign out. If you want to do some, see here in America's farmland area, the Midwest, something that's actually pretty popular. I don't know if you've seen it down there, if you've seen it anywhere, but you'll see it especially in farmland and stuff. They will put signs, and they'll have like one or two words, and then like a mile down or a half mile down the road, there'll be the rest of the words, and then another one, and there'll be like 5 or 6 of these. You'll drive by these things 100 times and not see them. And then you'll read one, and then the next day you'll read the next one, and then finally it'll put together a whole sentence. And then it's like a kind of a, just kind of a little advice thing, or it might be something on trying to wake you up and to, tell you something. Even if it's something small like that, if you put a sign in your yard, put a website, put federaljack.com, put brokenmanradio.com, whatever, and put it in your yard and just stick it in there. Eventually, somebody's going to see it, and then somebody might actually go on there and maybe check it out. I mean, that just something small like that. You don't have to go beating down the doors of the courthouse, and you don't have to get a bullhorn and go out on the corner and start screaming like a moron. You just little things like signs, bumper stickers, whatever. You can make up your own. Just anything like that.
Well, screaming through a bullhorn, honestly, I've been I've been there, and honestly, I mean, I guess it serves a purpose to a certain extent, but people get turned off by that. They really do. That's why I don't go out and do that stuff anymore. I'm more effective working, doing my radio show and broadcast and stuff like that, rather than jumping on a bullhorn and screaming this information, because who the hell wants to take information from somebody yelling through a bullhorn? I mean, I've been on the other end of the bullhorn myself. I've been on both ends of it. So it's like that worked back in the day. And there are certain things, maybe if you're out at a protest or a big event, then that works. But to get the message across as a whole, or to be more effective, you have to think outside the box. That's the way we're going to win, is if we think outside the box, because they only want you, again, they try to present everybody with the illusion, that their faux illusion of choice A or choice B, right? It's one or the other. In this case, it would be, well, you either go along with this tyrannical state we want to build and be scared of us, or you be one of these crazy truther, militia, revolutionary psychos. And I'm not saying that's what they are. I'm using their labeling, their thinking. You become one of these people, and you fight against us, and we have a bloody revolution, and then whoever's left, we round up and throw into prison camps and take away guns, and then we have our tyranny anyway, because they're prepared for that physical fight, right? That's why they have the FEMA camps. That's why they run around. That's why they run around beating their chests as much as they can with their SWAT team outfits and their equipment. They're like bullies. They're letting you know they're chesting up. They're running around the playground trying to scare everybody. That's what they're doing, because they're scared. So they have to, put that out there. They don't want you to realize the simple fact that if you think outside the box and start looking into yourself, every one of you out there listening, if each and every one of you start to look within yourselves, they become irrelevant. Like in the blink of an eye. Literally. Overnight. Like, bam. They're done. That's how we beat this. You got to step outside the box. I said this a lot, and we only got a few minutes left, but I want everybody to visualize you're standing inside of a cardboard box, right? And this is the box that we've been put in since we've been born, and we think it's huge. We look around us, we see the 4 walls and the floor. We think it's huge to a certain extent. We don't even bother looking up because we're told that there's a ceiling, and because we see the four walls and the floor below us and we can feel the floor below our feet, we think that there's a ceiling above us and that there's a limit. And the size of the box in our head, our perception of the size of the box could be a little bit different. But it's put there from our childhood, what we're programmed with, our limitations, right? What happens if you realize as a human and as a free individual, a free thinking individual, or infinite consciousness, if you will, you're not just subject to that box. Look up. You'll realize that there's blue sky and clouds above you. There's not a box lid. It's open. And suddenly you realize, you'll look around after you look up, you look back down, you realize the box isn't so big. Suddenly it's all around you. You're crunched up in the box. You're all squeezed up. Your knees are in your chest. What the hell? I was just standing up. There was room all around me. Now I'm squished up. Because that's reality. That's really how it is. You're stuffed in this little box. All you have to do is stand up. As soon as you stand up, you realize how small that box really is. Now it looks like a shoebox. You're standing up and you're looking down, and it's like the size of a shoebox, and you're just standing and looking at it. And you look all around you, and there's nothing but infinite possibilities. As soon as we do that as a whole, this is over, and we can move on. It's that simple. And that's what I mean when I say the solutions to our problems are an inside job. Johnny, we got about a minute and a half. What do you think?
No, I totally agree, and we all have to be. And I plan on actually doing a show about this in the very near future about personal responsibility. And I think a lot of us don't take that serious enough, that we don't accept responsibility for our own actions, and not only in your personal life, but in your professional life as well. And this whole America has become a pass the blame society. That we don't take responsibility for our own actions, and we don't believe we should suffer the consequences of those actions. So it's very important that you think through anything you decide, anything you do, and think about the consequences, because I think we've all learned that, especially in the last few years, that, people just don't care. They do what they want to do, and they don't care who it hurts. They don't care how far down the line it might hurt, and they don't care what it does to their families, their coworkers. They just don't care. It's all about me, and it's just ridiculous. But yeah, I agree totally, 100%. We can do this, but it's got to come from each and every one of us, starting with yourself, your family, your friends, and then just go up the ladder from there. And you don't have to do a whole lot. There's very small things you can do. Like I said, put a sign in your yard with a website, put a saying in your yard, whatever the case may be. And it doesn't matter, and just start from there. Go from there. Find some groups locally and join them, and try to come up with some ideas. Do a showing. Use that Chromecast thing. Rent a small room and show some videos or whatever. Do whatever you can do. Every little bit helps. It really does.
Well said, sir. Well said. Johnny, thank you so much for coming on again, dude.
No problem. Thank you for having me. And you can catch Broken Man Radio Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, an hour before Popeye Show, ironically, over to OrionTalkRadio.com. And Popeye was nice enough to put our Listen Live link up on FederalJack.com as well. And so we appreciate that, and thank you very much for that. And, we do what we can every day of the week.
Well, thanks for coming on again, brother.